Welcome back to the gaming channel. I am very happy to say that we have made it to Act 3 of Wolves on the Westwind. We have encountered the Fiend again, having to deal with some dissent from the crewmates on the ship. The Hetman Oliver is, in his feelings. We're not really sure why. But hopefully we'll figure it out in this playthrough. Continue? Alright, we could talk to Estrid or we could deal with the Fiend. Let's deal with the Fiend. Let's deal with the Fiend. To be honest, let's I'm nervous. Let's deal with the Fiend. Shadows of the past. Unable to sleep, you cast your mind back into the moment everything in your life changed. Start. Shadows of the past. Your eyes flick towards the sound of the bulkhead groaning as the keen wolf passes over another wave. This wave seems stronger. It tips you sideways just a little bit more than the last, sends your hammock swinging just a little more, or perhaps it is just in your head. You think you've been lying awake for hours, but it might also have been mere moments. With no hint of moon or sunlight eking into the cabin, you have no way of knowing how much time has passed. All you know is that you can't sleep, even though every fiber of your being tells you you are tired. Oh, I go through this every night. I'd be so dog tired, laying in the bed, and cannot sleep. I'd be up playing Dislight on my phone. I'm gonna be honest. Every time you close your eyes, you are brought back to some terrifying paralysis. An echo of sad, frustrated tone and confused, crushing tears. You think you know this memory. You know it. But you don't know why, all of a sudden, you find it so difficult a memory to shake. Why was is this you saw when the thunder struck and the fiend howled in your ear? It should be behind you, the last thing on your mind. Look for Estrid, look for Swafneld, look for Darksong. Let's talk the Darksong. You crane your neck up so you see that you can look around for any sign of Darksong. You've rarely seen her use the hammock since she came aboard, but she is using it now. She is incredibly well postured and balanced on the hammock to be asleep, but her eyes are closed. Perhaps she is meditating or trying to pretend to be asleep? No. You can't bring yourself to drag yourself off of the hammock. You are, for this moment, alone. And unable to sleep as you are, you must either stew in it or find some other way to distract yourself. Let's see. Try to clear your mind, think about other things. Recall Darksong's song. Now, last time we heard her singing and we drifted off to La La Land and we saw some kind of weird vision where we were following the music and we came across some weird shit. I can't remember. Recall Darksong song? You aren't sure why, but you find yourself thinking about the song Darksong hummed not too long ago. You pluck it from your memories easier than any spell or ritual you have ever memorized. And for a while, you can focus on that. It is a smooth melody and it brings a calm about you that helps you clear your mind. And soon, in your mind, in that same infinite forest. Head for the mountains, try to leave. Head for the mountains. We in it now. I want to know. You follow the urge building in your chest to head for the mountains. It is bitingly cold and a difficult walk over snow-covered brush and fallen branch. But despite that, you have found respite, even peace. This is how life is meant to be. And then you open your eyes. There you go. There you go the Fiend. I need to talk to you, bruh. I need to talk to you. You keep showing up starting shit. I need to talk to you, bro. What's going on? What's real? Why you messing with me and my homies? There's a lot of chatter around the gardens as students and teachers go this way and that. It isn't busy, but the gardens are small and noise does not have to travel far. Your eyes flick upwards to the double doors opposite you as you play with your fingernails. Still, it is not Zahir. Nerves boil up inside your stomach as you take a deep breath as you look back down at your hands. You cannot remember a time you were so nervous. Not in any of your 9 years at the Chamim al-Pandjastra. You wish that anyone else in the gardens looked as nervous as you feel. But no. For them, life goes on as it always has. Everyone is content, making progress. Everyone. Except you. Why are you beating up this is a normal feeling. Other people probably nervous, they just, you just not in their heads. Finally, when the double doors open again, it is Zahir. He looks around for a few moments before he sees you and begins to make his way around the gardens. It is still a few painstakingly long moments before he arrives, as small as each of his steps are. Hello, Nadim. It is still a few moments before he arrives, as small as each of his steps are. How are you today? I'm nervous. I'm nervous. You come right out and say it, expelling your next breath as a chuckle. If I'm honest here, I wish you would have told me what this meeting is about. I don't think I've done anything wrong, and I'm trying very hard. You are cut off by a heavy sigh from your teacher. You bow your head and watch him stroke his brow in thought out of the corner of your eye. You have seen that expression so many times before that you know what it means. Zahir is tired and frustrated. He's gonna drop the hammer down at you. Dang. We suck at being a mage, but that's his job. He's supposed to teach us. That is what the meeting is about, Nadim. Your mind is already racing. You can tell from Zahir's tone that whatever he has got to say is not good, but he seems to be having difficulty putting it into words. You're expelling me? I'm not gonna say nothing. Though you have a horrible feeling, you know why he is hesitating. You cannot bring yourself to ask the question. You wait for him to say it himself, continuing to pick at your nails nervously. It doesn't take him very much longer to find the words. We all know that you are working very hard and have a lot of determination, and we all know that you are committed to your studies. But there are only so many times we can tread the same waters. The first pang of sadness hits you before he even says it, and you curl your fist to try to keep yourself steady. We cannot keep trying to do the same thing over and over again and expect the results to be different. It would be madness. You nod your understanding, but tears come to your eyes. The truth is you don't understand. You have always been a good student, committed, determined, knowledgeable. But every time you have prepared to take your final examinations over the last year, you have failed. And you don't know why. The environment, the pressure, the damned pressure. It gets to you every time. Now, I can understand this. A lot of people just don't do well in uniform, institutions where everyone has to learn the same way. Not everybody learns the same way. If I don't like to be if they were a better teacher, but understand that everyone is different and everyone learns differently. And this just may not be the institution for you, Nadim. Clearly, you learn better in the field. I'm sorry, Zahir. Can anything be done? Let me try again. Can anything be done? Is there anything else that can be done? Anything else we can try? You know that I don't want to fail. There is a reason we have taught the way we do for so long, Nadim. It works. Okay, clearly it doesn't, because it's not working for me. You know what I'm saying? Does your way work? Because it's not working for me, which means that you're failing. See, I'm gonna get in my feelings over this. The mages that graduate from this school are some of the best in the world. We cannot let you take the exams if we do not think you are ready. And Nadim, once again, Zahir stumbles over his word, rolling his hand through thin air as if trying to find them again. If you are not ready by now, you never will be. You can feel the overwhelming sense of heartbreak coming before uncontrollable tears begin to fall. You try to best to keep your composure, but it is too difficult. There is a growing sense of anger and frustration behind the disappointment. You have given 9 years of your life, your childhood, to this academy. That is a lot. 9 years is a lot to put into something. Oh God, especially if he was paying for that. I don't know the parameters of getting into baby mage school, but 9 years, if it costs any kind of money, I'm suing. You got to give me something. I'm leaving with something. This cannot be how it ends. I know it. Excuse the thunder. It's storming real bad outside, and I need to check the cam. I put my plants out in the rain, and I'm hoping they don't get knocked over or too full. So I might have to pause and go move them. Let me check real quick. No, they're good. I just had to check the camera. I had to check my ring camera to make sure they were good. They're good. I'm sorry, Nadim. Next to you, Zahir stands up and turns to face you again. His eyes are full of remorse. You cannot keep failing. Please be sure to collect up your possessions and leave the academy by morning. They didn't even give you 24 hours. They said you gotta leave right now. And good luck in whatever comes next for you. Your inner anger only becomes more explosive as he walks away and more tears come to your eyes. Zahir doesn't look back. You are left on your own in the gardens, glancing around at others who are nearby. There are many sorry faces. Faces of those who saw this moment coming. Hot, fiery tears roll down your cheek as a new kind of pain rips through you. Humiliation at being the last person to know your own fate. Oh, that's awful. Not just to hear, but the entire academy has abandoned you without any hint of what you should do next. And you know you do not deserve it. As you sit there, trying not to let anger boil over into anything more than tears and trembling, you realize something. You are not alone. The fiend perches next to you in this mocking form, enjoying every moment of your suffering. Many weeks from now, you will be turned away from the Runajasko too. What is it about you, Nadim? I wasn't good enough. I'm not listening to you. Enough, bro. Get out my face. Enough, bro. I came here to learn something about myself and not have to deal with your BS. Enough. You were not good enough. That anger, that frustration, it only proves it, Nadim. Why were you so furious with them? I'm not gonna say nothing. Your fists clench tighter and you grit your teeth as you try to block out the voice. All around you, a thunderous chuckle rolls out against the clear blue sky, tearing down all your defenses. And you wonder what would happen if you returned. As the hero rounds the courtyard of the gardens back towards the double doors, he is approached by a student. A look of concern falls from his face as he listens to the student's question. He nods and laughs, falling into a comfortable conversation with them. Pain rips through you as you watch. Where was that patience for you? How were you supposed to learn when there was always so much pressure? What hurts more, Nadim? The hatred you harbor for this place, or the pain of knowing you cannot go back? I can pass the exam. Why are you doing this? I don't need them. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? Like, what is your problem, bro? Like, you could easily go do something else, but here you are. You hear the pain and anger in your own voice, but the cruel reflection of Zahir's smile, so rarely seen in reality, tells you everything you need to know. You brought this on yourself, Nadim. There is no one's pain but yours. You hear the sound of the double doors opening and your eyes flick upwards towards them. Without so much as a glance in your direction, Zahir follows the student through them and out of sight. You are left with nothing but the growing sense of your own discomfort, and the fiend to gloat over your shoulder about it. If only you could have done something. People say better late than never, but for you, that just isn't true. Now, it is too late for you. I know. Please stop. I've hurt for this. I know, man. I know. Your shout must be heard all the way through the gardens. Don't you understand? I know. The thunderous monster laughter returned, tearing through you as it always has and will. I understand it perfectly, Nadim. No one can run forever. You blink as you awaken to twilight, shaking your head as you catch your breath. For a brief moment, you scramble around, wondering where you are and how you got here. Take care, Outlander. It's all right. Your heart is racing and your breathing is sharp and wild. But as your eyes adjust to the light, you slowly begin to calm. And then you see Estrid standing over you with a furrowed brow. Is everything all right? Is the fiend here again? Just a dream? Nothing. Is the fiend here again? I want to talk about this. Is the fiend here again? No, Outlander. At least I don't think it is. There has been no signs. You pull yourself up so that you can turn and plant your feet on the relative steadiness of the deck. Estrid gives you plenty of space, holding out a hand as if she expects you to collapse. We all had a difficult night. You look around, and that a few raiders are still in the commons are all tired and morose. What time is it? Did you sleep at all? We need to finish this. I cannot take much more. There is not much longer to go now, thankfully. It cannot be any more than a couple of nights before we can make landfall. You yawn, stretch, and groan, and then try to shake the weariness from your mind. Come, let's make sure the Keen Wolf doesn't sink before we reach shore. Okay, got that done? We gotta go talk to Orvar. Ain't nobody trying to talk to his bitch ass. The raid. Before the turning north towards Isle of Sisfel, the Keen Wolf must stop offshore of Nostria for a Thorwall-style resupply. We finna go steal. Right? We finna go steal? We're criminals? Chapter: The Raid. You step out onto deck just in time to hear gunners shouting commands at those on deck. Drop the anchor stone. Prepare the skutas, quickly. The rain flicks and spits into your face as you take a good look at the Nostrian landscape. It's not entirely natural rain, nor is it entirely natural fog that fills the air. The plan is not to take the Nostrians completely by surprise. In fact, the Keen Wolf Raiders seem to want their opponents to know they're coming. That the Nostrians certainly will, as unnatural and ghoulish as the weather has become. But the spells without... I feel like I'm reading and not registering. But the spells will still hide the Scuta's exact approach, and will still help protect the raiders from arrows. Maynir and Darksong have each helped enhance the conditions with their own magic. You join them on the forecastle once they are finished, as the Keen Wolf judders and yawns to a halt. Alright, it says, I am not sure about this. Are we climbing up? Why an outpost? Why an outpost? Why was an outpost chosen for this? Risking all our lives against soldiers now seems unwise. Maynir chuckles and tucks his hands into his robes as he looks out as the cliffs. Scaring villagers and departing with their supplies may be easier, but I think some here would also say it's less honorable. Got you. It is the hard fight that will make whatever reward we get from this worth it. And besides, that is not all this is about. Darkson absent-mindedly rubs one of the scars on her neck as she talks, and then clutches her cape to her. On the day it was decided we would come here, Ulver mentioned letting loose a little. The challenge will help with that as well. There's a bit of commotion behind you as more of the raiders start spilling out onto the deck, readying themselves. Here, Outlander, you should take this. From around his waist, Maynir snatches up one of the vials, and throws it at you so it loops through the air. You scramble to catch it in both hands before it smashes against the deck, looking at the liquid inside. Thank you. Health elixir? Is this a health elixir? Not health. Swafnil used all of them up in the last raid, and I haven't been able to pick up any more yet. But this should still help you stay on your toes. Good luck, Outlander. While you've been talking, the Ochisko has been continuing to prepare the Skutas. They are loaded with as many shields as can be carried, as well as axes, swords, and bows and arrows. Now, Swafnil comes up from below deck too, carrying both of her axes in her hands already. You pocket the vial Maynir gave you and listen closely. Raiders! She points one of the axes at the distant outpost, looking around at her small band of fighters. That is where we're going. We will take both the Skutas to shore, climb the cliffs, and prepare ourselves for the real fight in the trees. Then, I leave it to each of you to do what you do best. Laughs, cheers, and cries break out around you. Swafnil grins and raises one of her axes again. The first boat will be responsible for securing ropes and dealing with any patrols in the woods. If you wish to prove yourself before your Ochisko and your gods, step forward now. Many of those on deck gasp or mutter or give strange look when Darksong steps forward confidently. From across the crowd, though, you see Estrid fold her arms, looking from person to person, as few step forward. She quickly makes eye contact with you, not moving a muscle as she waits to see what you will do. We can step forward. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. With a deep nervous breath, you take a short step forward too. Estrid nods as you join Swafnil and the 6 others to go first. Murmurs a wish of good fortune to you. Before stepping into the Skuta, Swafnil turns to the other raiders to shout one last order. Follow us up the cliff as quickly as you can. No one is to leave the safety of the trees before I give the order. You barely make a few steps when you hear a door open loudly behind you. To your surprise, Ulver emerges from his cabin, his great axe in hand, as he meets the stares of his Ochisko. He takes a look at the 8 of you, getting ready to step into the first Skuta, and tilts his head towards the second. I'll follow you in the second boat. And here comes Jurge, Thor wannabe. Really? Jurge speaks from behind Swafnil, already standing on the guardrail, ready to hop into the boat. The skeptical look he gives Ulver changes when the headman scowls at him darkly. Jurge shrugs. How long has it been? 4 winters? 5? That's enough, Jurge. Ulver's expression doesn't so much as flicker as he stares Jurge down. Without a word, he turns for the ship's starboard side, and the second Skuta, which is still being prepared. Is this when Ulver finna try some shit? Is this when he finna try some shit? Jurge's eyes follow him the entire way until he's eventually drawn to look and shrug at the raider next to him. Raiders, let us begin. This might be where he tries some shit. As soon as the Skutas touch ground on the beach, Swafnil orders you to take a rope and start climbing. The ropes are taken from the Keen Wolf's hold and would usually be used for rigging. Each of the scouts, including you, ties the end of the rope around their waist and starts their way up the cliff face. It isn't quite as sheer or as flat as it looked from a distance, but by no means does this make it easier. With no training and no experience, you must wait and watch for the climbers next to you before you begin. With no support to stop you from falling, and in the rain and fog for good measure, it is truly a terrifying prospect. You must find inch-wide grips to clasp onto with your fingers, when the stone is slippery and hard to grip. You find it difficult to gain any purchase with your toes, causing constant panic as your feet slide out of position. And when there are no footholds, you have no choice but to pull yourself up by your arms. Oh, I know that didn't hurt me. I ain't even did nothing. You've never been so aware of your own weight and how much energy it takes to pull yourself upwards. It does make you feel slightly better than most of the Thor whalers are finding it difficult too. In fact, it is only Darksong that seems anywhere at ease. She positively scampers up the side of the cliff, always stretching and always moving. You're only 2/3 of the way up when she reaches the ledge above you, untying her rope with heavy breath. At the very least, that gives you someone who can lend directions and pointers, but it's still a hard climb. Within a few arms' lengths of the ledge, your foot slips again and your heart leaps into your throat. As you let out a short, sharp cry, your fingers dig deep into the rock so much they hurt as you scramble around. 1, 2, and then 3 attempts it takes for your foot to find a hold back on the rock. And then there you have to take a small moment that makes your arms ache all the way to the tips of your fingers. You even close your eyes until the feeling of nausea passes and your heartbeat steadies. The closer you get, the more and more muted encouragement you get from Darksong, until finally you can grasp onto something wider than a fingertip and pull yourself up onto the grassy ledge. First your fingers, then your hands, then your arms and elbows. You immediately collapse onto your back, looking at the gray sky above you as you find yourself back on solid ground. You're soon pulled back to your feet once more and asked to tie your rope off on one of the rocks on the ledge. You don't wait for the next group to follow you up, and Swafnil leads you straight towards the trees quickly. It isn't until you're already under the canopy of pine trees that you notice Darksong has disappeared completely. Really vanished into nothing, just as she appeared from nothing in the vault in Haljansor. The rest of you follow Swafnil's lead in being quiet and low to the ground as you tread through the woodlands. It quickly becomes clear that you aren't alone. In fact, ahead of you, you see the Nostrian patrol walking towards the cliff behind you. They're quicker, louder, and fewer in number. 5, you think, trampling the woodland floor underfoot. Without any command from Swafnil, the 6 Thorwellian warriors at your side all stop and hold their weapons steady, ready to launch into an attack before the Nostrians know what hit them. Wait for the ambush? I'm gonna let them roll. You stay exactly where you are, using the precious time you have to work out exactly where each Nostrian is. A moment later, you hear the first cry as a raider springs up and the fight begins around you. You jump up too, clutching your dagger tightly as you step right into the path of a Nostrian. He stumbles backwards in surprise, dropping his shield and barely keeping a hold of his sword. Knock him unconscious? You quickly turn your blade in your hand and slam its pommel into the side of his head. He is instantly knocked out cold, slumping to the ground, and his eyes flicker shut. As quiet falls on the woodlands, you glance up to see one last Romanian Nostrian standing. He stands with his back bent backwards, as if on the edge of following only... Oh my god, words. He stands with his back bent backwards, as if on the edge of falling only to be caught by something. A moment later, Darksong blinks back into existence, holding her dagger to his throat from behind. She seems unsure about finishing the deed, staring at the knife as opposed to the soldier whose life is in her hands. But she glances up as the 7 of you all look at her and glances back down at the soldier. Steeling herself, she grits her teeth and slices across, throwing the soldier out of her hands and onto the floor. Before anyone can say anything about the nature of the interaction, Swafnil steps forward to pick up her axe. We cannot afford to have them attack us from behind in the main assault, nor can we take prisoners here. Put anyone who has survived out of their misery and send them with honor to the gods. There is little to do or say while you wait. A raider finds the soldier you left unconscious, murmuring something to him before ending his life. You think about checking in with Darksong, who looks quietly and sadly down at the soldier she killed. But it hardly seems like the time or place for that kind of talk, though you can see she is definitely troubled. And it's all to put to one side when Ulver brinks the other 7 of your party through the trees and into the place. Estrid follows behind them, her shield already strapped tightly to her arm and looking around for you quickly. You missed a strong start to the fight, Hetling. The elf's done something. Even the Outlander helped a little. Anyone could think that you don't care. Anyone could think that you don't care. Don't worry, Torquil. I'll do my part. Alright. Now that we are all here, we'll move on toward the outpost. But don't stray beyond the tree line. Let us at least see what we're dealing with before the fighting begins. In quiet, your small company makes its way forward through the trees, leaving the Nostrians piled up behind you. It isn't long before you come to the woodland's edge, where you can see the outpost far more clearly. Even through the fog, more details are visible now than they were from the Keen Wolf, and the challenge seems that much greater for it. You've never really seen anything like it, and weren't entirely sure what to expect. In the shadows of the fog, you see people walking up and down the palisade. It centers on a large wooden double door where a flag flies triumphantly in the rain and wind. From where you are, you cannot tell whether the watchtowers are manned. After some careful observation, Swafnil turns to you and starts giving further commands. Find a strong tree to cut down and shear off its branches. Turn it into a ram. Do we have time for that? Do we have time to make, like, to whittle a ram? Do we have time for that? 5 of you will help me carry that ram and use it to break the gate to the outpost down. Everyone else will defend us from the archers and the palisade as we approach, and then distract them That seems like a lot, Swafnil. Are you sure? I have, like, the worst headache, so I'm taking those off, because I think they're pinching my ears under these headphones. Whew. I will lead that group. Choose now whether you will go with Swafnil or with me. Oh, shit. I'm confused as to who's doing what. Using the ram, defending the ram. I feel like I'd do better defending the ram. How exactly will we defend the ram, Oliver? Oh, shit, I didn't want to go with him, because I feel like he trying to murk me. I feel like he's trying to murk me. Oliver grunts and lazily indicates the shields most of the raiders are carrying. Shields will be given to all those defending. We will form a shield wall around those who carry the ram, running alongside and in front of them as they go. When Swafnil gives the order, we will break away, lining up to protect our archers from those on the palisade. That will stop the Nostrians focusing completely on the ram, and let us break the gate down. You have to hand it to Oliver. He sounds more engaged and enthusiastic now than he ever has in your presence. There's a glint in his eyes that was not there before, now that the fight is upon you. And the other group? It is not a complicated thing. We will simply lift and carry the ram while Oliver's group protects us. Man, I should have carried a ram. This seemed like a lot of extra work that I am not, like... I don't have... I'm a baby mage. We will move slowly at first, to save all the strength we can for later. When we are close enough, I will give the command and we will charge the gate. We will probably need more than attempts, so Oliver's group will have to keep the archers from killing us. Suddenly you understand why Swafnil is the leader of the Keen Wolf Ochka's raids. There is an air of confidence about her that stretches beyond arrogance into real authority. Join Swafnil's ram group, join Oliver's defense, just follow Estrid. I'm glad they gave me another choice, because I don't want to work with Oliver. I also don't want to risk being shot by arrow. I'm gonna follow Estrid. Y'all asking too much of me. I really have no preference. Wherever Estrid goes, I will go too. We will help defend the Estrid, damn! Estrid, no! We will help defend the ram from the archers on the palisade. Man, I don't want to do that, Estrid! Estrid talks quietly, looking around at the other raiders, and particularly Torquil, as she speaks. With that, the company settles it to its final preparation. She's trying to impress some dude named Torquil. While you wait for the work on the ram to be completed, weapons are exchanged, and more details are drawn up. Darksong barely speaks a word, staying close to the larger group that will defend the ram. In the weapon exchange, someone offers her a bow and quiver of arrows, which at first she stares at blankly. Somewhat begrudgingly, she stows her dagger and takes them, sighing as she tests the string tension of the bow. You yourself are passed a shield and told to familiarize yourself with its weight before the assault begins. And when the preparations are complete, you take up a position around those who lift the ram to Swafnil's command. For just a moment, you let yourself stew in the nervous tension of it all, and your skin crawls. Then Swafnil shouts, "To honor, to glory!" Man, this is some bull. They're telling us to honor, to glory. This is some bull. I am not with this. Her war cry is echoed by almost everyone around you, and just like that, the assault begins. 2 rows protect the ram carriers with their shields. You're in the first, holding your shield over your head to protect both you and the raider to your right. You are then boxed in on the left, where another raider carries a shield to stop arrows coming in from the side. Altogether, you march out of the woods at a brisk walk, letting Swafnil and her team set the pace. The raid has made the ground muddy and difficult to traverse, but you keep pace, and it isn't long before the arrows begin to fly. You hear the first splatter into the earth somewhere to your left and out of sight, but certainly not out of mind. It's followed by a cacophony of splintering wood as they come down close to you. Everyone bristles at the sound of it, but Swafnil shouts a patient command. Wait, do not break yet. There's just a moment of quiet where the only sound is everyone's labored breathing. Then the second volley hits with a tremendous crack. You flinch. In the moment, you think an arrow has landed in your shield. It plays on your thoughts as Swafnil breaks into a jog, and the company speeds up around you. Would you know if an arrow hit your shield? Surely there would be some change in the weight or momentum. Those questions are answered for certain when the next volley hits. The arrows rain down on you from the front of the line to the back, one after another after another. My health went down a little bit. My health went down a little bit. With a loud snap, an arrowhead breaks through your shield and just inches away from your arm. Wait! A number of the raiders carrying the ram groan loudly at Swafnil's command. A little in front of you, in the outer row of the wall, Estrid adjusts her shield and a brief pause between volleys. Wait! Another volley hits you, and you know that eventually the sturdy Thorwallian shields won't hold out much longer. One of the ram carriers stumbles, and the group stumbles forward for a moment, before they catch themselves. Now! At Swafnil's command, the shield bearers begin to pull away from the battering ram. You sidestep neatly to follow as they form 2 lines in the front of the palisade. One by one, your small group slam their shields down to the wet ground and then push downwards. Once the shields are lodged in place, you all duck behind them as the ram continues forward. Those with the bows and arrows start preparing themselves to lose. Others start collecting rocks and pebbles they hope to lob at the palisade simply to distract the archers. From behind you, your shield, you hear a crash as the ram makes it to the gate for the first time. Take a look, stay in cover, stay in cover, stay in cover, stay in cover. We don't need to see none of that. You turn so that you are sitting behind your shield, focusing on your breathing for a moment. Next to you, Darksong knocks an arrow and stands deftly, pausing for just a moment before releasing it. The arrow whistles away into the spray and fog, and she ducks down again, her eyes darting around keenly. Forward! Look at Orville! Look at him! Look at the emotion! He emoting, y'all! No sooner has the first volley of arrows been released does Orville's command ring out so that both lines can hear it. You are slower to respond than some of the other raiders, who all grab their shields back up and start forward again. You all hold your shields directly in front of you, not even bothering to slip them onto your arms. My health going down, and I ain't even made none of these decisions. My health going down. A loud crack takes you aback as the arrow punctures your shield again, and your arms buckle at the elbow. A few yards later, you push your shield back down into the mud and clamber down behind it again. Once again, the arrows start flying towards the palisade, and now those with the rocks start throwing as well. There is another crash as the ram once more hits the gate. At the end of the line, Oliver is knocked onto his back with a long, heavy arrow sticking from his shoulder. As he groans, the ram bearers prepare themselves for one last push, and you know a distraction is needed. Let's do the blinding flash. You start building the blinding flash formula in your head, even from the safety of your shield. With a break in the volleys, you peek out from behind the shield to find a target. The first you lay your eyes on is barely more than a shadow in the spray and fog and rain, but it's enough. As he knocks his arrow and prepares to shoot, you give yourself the space you need to cast your spell. He immediately staggers back, and you think you hear a stifled cry from the direction of the palisade. The arrow flies and far, following harmlessly to the ground as the archer disappears from view. Keep firing! Give Swafnil's raiders time! You're surprised to hear Estrid's voice ring out over the plains before the palisade. She's taken up Orville's position while he recovers and now peeks out from behind the shield towards the gate. You follow her gaze and see the ram bracing forwards again. Now! A chorus of war cries rings out as the raiders all scamper forward again, slipping and sliding towards the gate. In the same moment, there is a mighty crash and the ram hits the gate one last time before the bearers finally drop it. The gate is so close to being broken now. One last long strike would do it. Oh, shit. Oh, this is such a hard choice because I don't know what's to come next. I'm gonna wait. I wanna save my magic. I don't know what the fuck gonna happen on the inside of the gate. I don't know what's gonna happen. Wait. You don't want to risk being stuck with an arrow, so you wait for someone else to finish the job. Of course, it's Swafnil, howling in rage as she sprints to and then through the gate, finally breaking it open. You follow the crowd of raiders that rush under the palisade and into the outpost proper. Most of the group skitter to a halt very quickly as you're met by a dozen soldiers carrying pole arms. Swafnil, though, does not stop, charging straight into the group all of her own, with blood-curdling cry. Approach slowly. We're gonna approach slowly. You know, this is not our forte. You're a baby mage. You take out your dagger and keep a good arm's length between you and the nearest polearm. Your hesitations allows for one soldier carrying it to jab at you with the spike oh no, at the end of the weapon. You skip and step away every direction and attempt to avoid the jabs, but your opponent moves with you. Oh fuck, I should have did something else. You see him grin cruelly as he readjusts his grip and thrusts forwards, nicking your arm with the axe of the bleed. A nick in the arm not gonna take that much health. A nick in the arm is not gonna take that much health. They need to stop. But as he takes a moment to reset, you can finally move past the blade. The grin disappears from the soldier's face and he tries to pull the weapon back to defend himself as you close in. Around you, the rest of the raiders struggle to make any impact on the defensive line. I'm dead. Am I dead? I'm dead. A couple even fall to the weapons as they try to dash past, stabbed and sliced at the Nostrians huddled together. Well, I guess my first death, was here. Okay, we ain't gotta go too far back. You follow the crowd of raiders that rush under the palisade into the outpost proper. Most of the group skitter to a halt very quickly. Dozen soldiers. Swafnil, blah 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 blah. We gonna charge in after Swafnil. We're gonna see what that do. You have never faced a weapon like it before, but you are certain Swafnil can't take on so many alone. So you charge into the group after her, trying to step neatly around the first weapon you see before it can strike. There's a little you can do to avoid the net of spikes and axe blades put up in front of you. Dang, I gotta use, they gonna make me use magic. They gonna make me use it all up. You bat one shaft away with your hand, but another from further back swings into your arm, cutting deep. And I'm dead again. The spike of another comes from the left, jabbing you sharply in the side, thankfully not impaling you completely. If you want me to use magic, just say that. If you want me to use, I'm trying to conserve the magic, but if you want me to use magic, just say that. Why are they doing me like this? Use the magic. The more tortuous blah 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 formula is already playing on your mind, even as you try to work out exactly how to use it. You focus on the nearest pole arm as you cast and immediately feel the tension of the soldiers gripping it tightly. He grimaces and strains as you try to pull the weapon free of his hand with your magic. You channel all of the energy you can into the spell, forcing him to use yet more of his strength to keep a hold. And when you realize the spell from your mind and your magical grip on the weapon is gone, he slips backwards. As he crashes into the mud, the raiders pounce on the opportunity to leap into the gap he leaves behind. Your work is enough to stop at the Nostrians wrestling away an advantage. Okay, I still got hurt, but not as much. Their defensive discipline makes the far right makes the fight slow, but their weapons are rendered useless as you close in. Swafnil alone makes the biggest impact. She throws herself at any Nostrian who dares stand in her way, focusing all of her rage and anger into every blow. If they don't fall to the first, they'll probably fall to the second, and definitely fall to the third. Fight to kill, fuck the night. We gotta kill. We ain't got time to be knocking people out. We gotta kill, we gotta kill, we gotta kill. In the middle of it all, you do what you have to in order to survive the fight. The Nostrians are certainly more happy to take no prisoners, defending their outposts to the bitter end. That doesn't make it easier to process everything you're doing. But you try to limit the damage, try to do only what's necessary. It doesn't take long for the Nostrians to start to fall back, their numbers easily halved by your offensive. You're in the midst of joining their raiders, charge forward when an arrow lands just inches away from your foot. Turning, you see the archers still stood above the ruined gate on the palisade, free-firing arrows into the crowd. Some are distracted, ducking and diving out of the way of arrows coming from your own archers. Then Darksong, still among them, hide behind corners of the nearest buildings between shots, trying to stay out of the melee, trying to provide a distraction for the melee, and trying not to get shot themselves. If you do nothing, the archers may start to whittle you down from behind. If you don't, the soldiers have been fighting will regroup and you will have to start all over again. And you notice now too that there are some raiders lying wounded openly in the line of attack. Deal with the wounded, deal with the archers, deal with the... we gotta deal with the archers. You wouldn't want an arrow in the back for anyone. And with the fog beginning to rise, their volleys will only disrupt your attack if they are not dealt with quickly. But as the fog rises, so too does it become easier for them to spot anyone running towards them. You will have to approach carefully or very quickly if you wish to stop them shooting you before you reach them. Run for the ladder, approach from cover. Run for the ladder, approach from cover. Magic? I feel like they just gonna make me use magic, so I'm gonna use the magic. The fog lifting makes it that much easier for you to focus on the target for your magic. You lay eyes on one, quickly building the magic formula in your mind, simultaneously to making the gestures. Whew. The blast of air hits the soldiers dead on, crashing him into the palisade with the same force as the battering ram. It also takes a second by surprise, and he staggers back as his colleague collapses to the floor on the platform. Before he can recover, you run as quickly as you can for the ladder. Before you see him claw his way back to his feet, scooping up his bow. You are certain he is going to shoot you dead, and panicking, slightly skitter in a halt to change direction. But before he loses, an arrow whistles over your head and strikes him in the eye. He dies immediately, letting go of his bow as he goes, sending the arrow very wide. You turn to see who saved you so gruesomely, only to find Darksong looking at you with a steady stare. She's already knocked another arrow into her bow, but the enemy archers are dwindling now, and she doesn't release. Instead, she just lets a morose face fall, turning away without a word. The chorus of battle cries is still loud in your ears ahead of you, where the melee is beginning to break up. The fog clearing makes it quite obvious that neither side can withstand much more, though you notice many of the raiders stand that you might expect. With the archers distracted by you, they've continued to whittle down the soldiers bearing pole arms too. It's only a moment before you realize just exactly how this is happening now, though. The raiders are falling back, led back towards the palisade on the gate bar over. Swafnil ignores any and all instructions, continue on her path of violence. No one seems surprised by this, leaving her to her own devices as they follow Over's lead in her stead. Behind them, what remains of the Nostrian soldiers are rallying, giving the raiders space. Up the street from the other end of the outpost, a new group is coming. Heavily armored soldiers with swords and shields, marching forwards to reinforce the group. The man who barks their orders paces menacing off to one side of the group. The morning star in his hand swings back and forth, promising great pain if it were to ever hit you. Oh, we ain't got no magic, we ain't got no health. What we gonna do? You aren't sure how many of them are. 10, maybe a dozen, but even after dealing with the first wave of soldiers and all the archers, they are definitely enough. Only a few of the raiders have fallen, leaving about a dozen of you left too. But these swordsmen and their leader are fresh, and you are all tiring from the strain of assault. Orville, group together, stay close, and keep your shields up. With me, come on, form a shield wall. You are glad to see Estrid among those still standing, not just surviving, but thriving in a fight. She directs those with the shields to line up in front of those who don't, as the first line of defense. You race towards to meet the group before they reach the palisade. Darksong and a small handful of archers have fallen back with them and are already accounted for. Swafnil is the last of the group you see, wrenching one of her axes off the floor as she shakes off her rage. When she picked up the second, she stands defiantly in front of the shield wall and rolls her wrists. You rather get the feeling that this will be the fight that decides the outpost's final fate. There'll be no better time than now to use the elixir Maidner gave you. Hell yeah! While you can, you dig it out of your pouch and pop the cork free, downing the liquid inside whole. Okay, give me some more magic. The sensation takes you a little by surprise, being nothing you have experienced before, but you accept it. As you throw the bottle away, you feel the elixir tingle through your whole body. It fades quickly and you nod to yourself, focusing on your mind and keeping the grip on your dagger tight. You're ready. Hold this line, fall back. We gonna hold a line? Hold this line. Let them come to us. You add your own words of encouragement into the mix as the raiders all huddle together. Together, you all wait for the Nostrians to blink first. The swordsmen stop at their leader's command, perhaps a dozen yards away from you. It is a disciplined stop to tidy up their formation before the order is given to charge. And just like that, forwards! The Nostrian commander swings his arms towards you all, and the weapons in his hand whirls around violently. By his command, the soldiers charge forwards as one unit, jogging at you with their shields high. The melee is rejoined in a first few moments. The fresher Nostrian fighters wrestle their way past the Thorwellian shield bearers relatively quickly. Those that aren't in the front line run around your group to attack you from the sides and from behind. Another couple of raiders fall before you can reposition the defense. Oh, how did I die? You're not even sure where you're struck from when you feel the edge of the sword slice at your arm. Wait, I gotta start all the way at the beginning? Oh, hell. I'm gonna see some of this. I'm gonna see some. I'll be back. Still gonna deal with the archers. Because I don't think that's where I messed up. I don't think I messed up with the archers. I don't think. Still using our magic, because we know that's going to be replenished, so we might as well use the magic. Alright. We hit him with that blast of air. Shoot you, blah, blah, blah. A Darksong come through, hit him with that Yaka. Alright, we're using the elixir Maidner gave us. Getting our magic up. And we're not gonna hold the line. This is where I think I messed up. I'm not gonna say nothing. I feel like it's not my place. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing. You say nothing, simply taking every moment you can to prepare yourself. And then Esther say fall back to the gate. We should have felt okay. We listen to Esther. She's seasoned. She's seasoned. I'm a baby maid. She's seasoned. Fall back to the gate. Don't let them surround us. You're right. As Estrid's additional command, the raiders, including Orville, all begin to shuffle backwards. Soon you're standing with your backs to the gate so that Nostrians can't get past you towards it. Able to make an easy escape if necessary, but unable to be surrounded. And just like that, forwards! Alright, now they coming at us. Okay. The Nostrian commander swings his arm towards you all, and the weapon in his hand whirls around violently. By his command, the soldiers charge forwards as one unit, jogging at you with their shields high. The space your band has bought is well used. Before the melee is rejoined, archers release shots over the shield bearers' shoulders to disrupt the Nostrians. Try as they might, they cannot attack from behind you, and that limits the damage they can do. A couple even fall as your groups begin to push back again, the shield bearers of both sides clashing with each other. Oh, I got hurt again. My God, I don't want to do this over again. Please survive. There are scrapes and bruises, and yes, but none of the raiders actually fall. Once again, you begin to wear the Nostrians down. The fight is slow, and it is difficult to keep your bearings, but you are managing to hold the line. But that is when you see the Nostrian commander swinging his Morning Star over his shoulder as he enters the fray. In that moment, a memory stirs in your mind. You aren't sure why it comes to you in this moment of all moments, but it flashes before your eyes in an instant. You see Zahir, your instructor at the Pentagram Academy, standing in front of you, showing you some gestures. You remember reading a scroll of black dried and very faintly broken ink on which a formula is written. A complex but powerful elemental spell meant to be used when your opponents are numerous. The full power of a hurricane packed into a ball the size of your hands. And as you are brought back to reality, a simple question crosses your mind. If not now, when? Your allies are made of stern stuff, and you can move far quicker in their lighter armor. There is no easier way for you to know how to finish the fight. We apparently have some new magic. It's going to cost a lot of magic. It's 20, but we're going to have to do that. By casting Orcanos Pharaoh, Nadim may find a powerful ball of pressured air at a great speed at a target, which will then explode and impact and harm any cause in the blast radius. Alright, do that. As easily as a click of your fingers, the formula is built in your mind, and the gestures have come to your hands. As you bring them together in a bowl, you feel pressure building. It's a Kamehameha. That's what it is. It's a Kamehameha. That's what this is. You feel pressure building and building as the air there twists itself into a frenzy. Ooh, that was pretty. As if it has a mind of its own, it flings itself forward, flying away from you in a straight line towards the Nostrians. As soon as it makes contact with the first of them, it explodes with a deafening thump that flings the soldier into the air. In an instant, the arcane blast expands in a spear, and everyone nearby is knocked off their feet. The commander is struck too, crumpling backwards in his cage-like armor until he hits the floor. Anyone the spell doesn't reach stops what they're doing, all turning to look at you. Their expressions range from shock to abject horror at your certain surge of power. But Swafnil, sensing the opportunity you've provided, raises her axe and roars, lunging into the fight once more. The other Thorwallers follow suit, even if some are quicker to do some than others. You are left in relative safety to collapse to your knees, drained by the effort of casting such a powerful spell. Only now does the gravity of what you've done seem to wash over you. A small part of you even wishes the here had been with you to see it. Despite the odds that were starting to stack up in the Nostrians' favor, the raiders hold their own. As more of the Nostrians fall, more of those who remain begin to lose heart. The raiders don't stop until it is clear there will be no more fighting. Even then, as the very few Nostrians left standing begin to surrender, they keep a tight grip on their weapons, just in case. But, of course, the raiders are near to completely spent as well. Almost all of them seem glad that the fighting has come to an end, showing visible signs of relief in their faces. Swafnil. Whew. Round up any who remain, make sure none are hiding anywhere, and start tending to our wounded. Swafnil barks her orders through the very depths, do very deep breaths, tucking her axis back into her belt. It is only after a few moments that she wipes down her face, which is incredibly bloody. She takes another deep breath and closes her eyes, murmuring to herself softly. As the raiders start to carry out her instructions, you simply sit and try to stop your mind from racing. It's Torquil that finds you like this, wiping his axe down on his sleeve as he approaches. That's some power you hold, Outlander. I didn't know Thorwallers and magic. What does Thorwallers and magic mean? Yes, it is. I don't want to say no offhanded shit. That's why I can't stand like some of these choices, because I don't know what she really mean. I'm gonna say yes, it is. Yes, it is. You don't mean to come across as arrogant or even self-assured, but Torquil's expression tightens as one of discomfort and distrust as he looks at you. Damn! That's not what I meant! Then he relaxes again, slightly, as he rubs the back of his head. I just wanted to thank you. You did well for the Odjesko today. You try to take account for the state of the raiders while remaining Nostrians are gathered together. All in all, they aren't exactly in bad shape. Some are injured, yes, but most only picked up cuts and bruises. But you yourself are as close to death as you have ever felt. At no point during the sorting of the Keen Wolf's cargo all those days ago did you become aware of healing supplies. Perhaps some can be found in the outposts when the time comes to find the supplies you are here for. The raiders take it upon themselves to start opening doors and rifling through buildings. Swafnil slumps down against a wall, resting her head against it with her eyes closed for a little while. Wolverine paces back and forth, his fingers drumming on the handle of his axe as he looks around shiftily. Your mind turns to just how you are going to get the supplies the raiders are collecting down the cliff face. You imagine some time is going to be spent hoisting up ropes and tying around crates and boxes. You will all probably have to carry what you can. So after all that energy spent, there is still some work to do. But your thoughts are interrupted when a scuffle rings out over the outpost. All of you are in the area, turn to see Jurge and another raider dragging someone along towards you. Your eyes fall on a soldier wearing the garb the other Nostrian soldiers didn't. He's injured, lightly, and struggling to free himself from Jurge's strong grip. Jurge bats every attempt to hit him away very easily, and then throws the soldier down in the middle of you all. Who is this? He indicates the soldier to Over, who stops pacing at the sight of him. This coward says he's the captain of the outpost, but I found him trying to break his way through the palisade. A ripple of groans and light chuckles travel through the raiders present, as if the behavior was to be expected. The captain slowly raises his hands as Over approaches him, looking pointedly away from the hetman. The outpost is yours. Take what you want. We won't stop you. I only request that you let those still alive leave. For a long moment, Orville doesn't so much as move a muscle. Even his fingers, which you are so used to tapping on any surface they can find, keep a tight grip on his axe. Awaiting his response, the captain slowly starts to lift his gaze upwards. And then Orlver chuckles. Request. He forcibly rests the axe on the ground so that the axe head spits up the mud to the captain's face. Orlver rests his hands on the butt of the weapon, looking darkly down at the captain, who avoids his gaze again. You aren't in a position to request anything. The captain swallows and quickly nods, not daring to try looking Orville in the eyes again. You sense a noticeable shift in the atmosphere around you. Every raider has stopped what they're doing to watch the exchange. In the corner of your eye, you see Swafnil standing up again, a look of deep concern on her face. It's echoed in Jurge and Torkel's faces too, and all the other raiders, Estrid's as well. Darksong looks from person to person as if she feels the same tension in the same moment as you. Ulver, though, looks different. Oddly, he seems calmer, more relaxed than you have ever seen him before. Oh, he a murderer. He a killer. He bought that business. He a straight murderer. Ooh. And as he watches the captain cower at his feet, a dark smile starts to cross his lips. Do you know who I am? It isn't what you expected him to ask at all, and you are suddenly taken aback. But what is it even more astounding is that the captain nods fervently in response. We saw the ship before the fog came in. I wasn't certain at first, but when we saw pirates coming out of the trees, then I knew. The stories are true. Ulver snorts out a chuckle in response. That laugh triggers something in your mind, a memory, a dream. No, a vision of a village burning around you and tight binds around as your hands and pain in both of your legs. Of Ulver breaking through a crowd of raiders to stand in front of you with a look of malice and malcontent. Of him stalking towards you with that axe held tightly in his hands. Snapping back to reality with a blink, you see Ulver has started pacing around the captain. What stories, Ulver? What are you doing? Ulver, what are you doing, bro? We know the stories. We ain't gotta go into the stories. We know. We're not gonna play dumb. We know the stories. Ulver, what are you doing? What are you planning to do? You aren't even sure if Ulver hears your question. He's staring quite intently at the captain now, circling him slowly. No one dare break the silence, all caught up at the tension of what is happening in front of you. Eventually, it's the captain himself that speaks. Please, I will swear the soldiers to silence. We will say we never saw you. Or we will tell everyone we saw you, if that's what you want. Just please, don't hurt us. Not like that. Another flash in your mind, surrounded by the deep, bitterly cruel chuckle that you've come to recognize so well. Ulver ignores you, glancing back towards the crowd, and then at you again, quickly. Gunnar shouts at him over the raging fires that surround you, all as the crowd jeers and shouts. Phantom pain washes over you, and your eyes snap open. Back to reality. You feel uncontrollably and inexplicably dizzy, dropping to your knees. Estrid staggers back too, holding her head in her hand as she tries to shake whatever she has seen away. You hear a growl from Ulver and look up in time to see he has quickened his pace around the captain. Swafnil and Darksong are affected too, both shaking their heads and blinking. No one else is quite sure where to look, caught up between your visceral reactions to whatever this is that has captured you. No! No! With a roar of anger, Ulver lunges at the captain, shoving him to the floor and bearing down on top of him. The captain whimpers, crawling into his front to try to scramble away. He moves about an inch before Orville catches him, picks him up, and hurls him back down on his back again. No! Man, this is going on a bit. I will not be threatened. Who is threatening you, bro? I will not be manipulated. What? I will not be beaten. Oh, bro, you insecure. Do you hear me? Yes. Yes, the captain had no idea what you're talking about. The captain like, what? I just don't want to die. I don't know what you're talking about. With another roaring cry, Ulver slams the butt of his axe into the captain's chest, cutting his sentence short. As the captain coughs and sputters, Ulver raises his axe and hits him with the shaft again. Let's see. Try to stop Ulver. Is the fiend at work? Will somebody stop him? Like, something has gotten to Orville up here, because he's not making sense. Is the fiend at work? Is the fiend at work, Ulver? I don't know how. It's different. It's different this time. But I'm seeing the same as before, as when it last attacked us. It's playing with your mind. Again, Ulver doesn't respond, jabbing at the captain again and again. The captain cries out every time the butt of Orville's blade strikes him, flailing about to protect himself from it. George breaks forward to walk towards him, but Torkel quickly catches him by the shoulder and shakes his head. Torkel, it might help. There are a few more strikes before Orville bends to scream in the captain's ear. You will not take my life from me. The captain is slipping away from consciousness, his eyes struggling to stay open even as Orville growls. It's mine. I won't be robbed of that. Again, there is a change in him. His voice is coarse and all the anger has slipped from his words. You'd almost think it was desperate now. He breathes heavily as he stands up straight, catching a grip on his axe with one hand just before it slips from reach. He looks around at all of you, staring back at him, and very unsure what to say or do without incurring his wrath. Find the supplies, get them to the ship. We are leaving. And we are heading north, yes? Back to Alcesfell to finish this? Orville looks at the sky as if stricken by a sudden exhaustion, stepping over the fallen captain with an awkward step. But he doesn't reply, and George's expression quickly sours. Do not do this again, Hetman. I gave you an order, George. And I asked you a question, Orville. Once again, the rest of you look on in a stunned silence as the two of them size each other up. Orville is fuming, his fingers once again beginning to tap, tap, tap against the shaft of his axe. George does not stand down, shaking his head and pointing at Orville threateningly. Look at what you just did. Look at it. This is what the Fiend is doing to you. We are Thorwailers, proud and strong, yes, but we are not savages. We need to finish this before it gets worse. Before another silence can fall, Esther steps forward and clears her throat, and all eyes turn to her in an instant. George is right, Orville. If we keep trying to run from this, it is only going to get worse. Even if the demon's tooth doesn't work, we have to try to end it, before we tear ourselves or each other apart. You look around, and you see more and more of the raiders nodding quietly at her words. They are listening, and they understand, even if Orville doesn't. Then the two of them keep looking at each other for a long moment, and no one takes their eyes off the battle of wills. Slowly, Orville begins to walk forward towards George. George doesn't move, watching Orville every step of the way until his hetman is towering over him. Find the supplies, get them to the ship. We are leaving. With that, he thunders past, storming away through the broken gate and leaving the outpost behind him. George shakes his head and throws an embittered hand up as to wave Orville away angrily, and then storms off too. Slowly but surely, the rest of the raiders begin to give up too, starting with the work that still has to be done. A couple of them even walk up to Estrid, trying to console her or thank her for trying. You feel terrible. There's a pit in your stomach that feels wider and darker than any of the anxiousness you felt in the last weeks. It feels like a threat, or a warning. Something impeding, about to erupt. Darksong, are you alright? Your thoughts are broken up by Darksong's appearance in front of you. Of course not, we're too late. I have a bad feeling? I have a bad feeling about all of this. Darksong considers your response, or lack thereof, for a moment before looking out of the gate. When she turns back to you, she opens her mouth to speak, but quickly closes it again. After a moment of thought, she tries again. I don't... Girl, if you don't tell me what's going on, you better speak. I understand wanting to run. It's something a lot of these people cannot understand. Once again, she looks away, through the ruined gate of the outpost and onto the plains. When she turns back to you, there is a more assured, confident look in her eyes. It's never as easy as just finishing it. She seems to pause for another moment of intense thought before nodding and turning to walk away. What this cryptid-ass shit? I can't stand when somebody knows something and they want to speak in riddles. Like, tell me what the fuck is going on. Tell me what's happening. Tell me what's happening. Once again, you're left alone in a relative quiet. And with so much of on your mind, you find that to be alright. The memories, dreams, visions, whatever they were, still play on your mind. And there is an ever so slight ache in your neck, which only adds to the growing pit of dread you feel inside you. This is it, you tell yourself. Whether or not Orville joins you, you are going after the Fiend now. The final stretch, you realize. With the worst of yet to come, you fear. Whew. Alright. That's been an hour. I'm gonna end it here. I don't know if I'm gonna do these to different playthroughs or if I'm gonna do one big video. But we'll see. Okay, I think we're back. Hi, I'm KB, and welcome to Wolves on the Westwind. So I probably I hit record, but I didn't have my mic on. So the first like 5 minutes I read before I realized that like I didn't understand what was I talking into. So luckily I found my manual save from where we left off last time, and I can I can actually record this properly. It's late. I'm tired. We're just gonna get into it. I had a whole spiel and I can't even remember it. Let's just get into it. Deeds unspoken. With tensions rising aboard the Keen Wolf, you and your companion began to lose patience with Oliver's stalling. Yes, this is correct. This is where I was. My voice is recording this time. A movement in the corner of your eye brings you back to reality. The low hum of chatter around you seems to get louder, and you take a look around the galley. The Keen Wolf is anchored for the night, and some of the raiders have stayed here long after your meals were eaten. It's those that were not part of the raid that are talking most. They're far from jovial. They would have sensed something was wrong when you returned from the mainland. But they aren't shaken like the rest of you. After the incident in the outpost, the supplies were secured and shipped back to the Keen Wolf. Those that were badly injured patched up as best as could before stepping foot on the scooter. And since then, your mind has been worrying. Your mind has been caught between the memory of Ulver beating the Nostrian captain with his axe and the memories of those visions. Okay, so, like I was saying, did he beat him with his axe, or did he chop him into pieces with his axe? Because I get it's a blunt side of the axe and there's a sharp side of the axe. And when I first recorded this little bit, I was like, did he chop him up? He chopped him up. Oh no. But like everybody is, the tensions are high now. Everybody's like, oh, his marbles is shaking loose a bit up there. Everyone's a little shook by it. And I guess the people that didn't go on the raid are hearing about it secondhand, and they not as shook. I think that's what they're talking about. Ooh, I'm excited. Around and around they swim in your mind, always with that warning feeling. Opposite you, Esther drains what's left of her mead and sets the cup down, staring into the inside of it thoughtfully. After a moment, she shakes her head and releases the cup from her grip, looking up at you and talking quietly. I keep coming back to that burning village. Why, when the Nostrian captain mentioned stories in my mind, went to that? The more I think about it, the more certain I am that I've seen it before. The last time the fiend attacked us on our way back from the Alkenfelsen. Is it a message? It wasn't just you. There's a pattern to it. Okay. First time I picked is it a message. I'm gonna pick it again. In the outpost while O was having his moment, I did hear the fiend in my head again. We're gonna keep going. Do you think it was some kind of message for us? Perhaps a warning or a threat. And if that's the case, then should we really listen? It is probably trying to drive us against each other. Esther thinks for a long moment before she sighs and bows her head to look at the table. Maybe you're right, but I cannot help but feel that there is something more to it. It just feels more important than that. She falls silent for a long while, falling into thought again. You're too exhausted to even manage that much, but just sit and wait for the conversation to pick back up. Eventually, Esther stops, and then starts again. It's clear to me that the fiend is very powerful. Whether or not we believe it is fated, we will have to fight together in order to defeat it. Especially if we must do so without the demon's tooth. But even together, I don't think we have much hope if we do not trust each other. And I don't trust Oliver. I want to know what happened in that village from the visions. Honestly, I want to know whether we should think about just leaving him behind. What about the runes? I don't trust him either. Things haven't improved. Okay. I picked things haven't improved here. Because they haven't. And damn them runes. I don't know. The runes seem... They some rocks. And like, I know the whole rune thing was like, you have to work together. And it's like, are we working together because O is the problem? Think about it. O might be the problem. But I'm gonna pick things haven't improved. That's what I picked last time. Things haven't improved. I wasn't expecting him to join us on the raid today. And I said this when I first recorded this bit. Like, I expected him to be there. Like, because it's the only thing that he's good at is violence. Like, why would he skip out on the raid? Everything else is failing. And I feel like that's his out, is the violence. He's not going to do the violence with the whole, saber-toothed cat demon thing attacking, because I feel like he has already tried to contend with it because he's the one that actually brought this curse. B, he's scared. He's literally just scared of it because it's magic. I don't know. For a few moments, I thought that might be a step forward, but things haven't really improved, have they? Estrid snorts and shakes her head, very much in agreement with you. Whatever was once true of Orville Eriksson, now he's a poor excuse for a hetman. We are running out of time, and I have run out of patience. I can't let him drag us down if he does not want to save his own life. Once again, she stops, pursing her lips and looking around the galley. You rather get the feeling she is calming herself down, as if she felt she was getting carried away. I feel like if we can understand what happened today, we might finally convince him to stand with us. And if that does not work, then we can just leave him be. But I don't think he will simply tell us. Someone on this ship must know what that burning village means. I want to speak to Gunnar about it. And if he won't tell us, then we find someone else who will. What do you say? Don't assume the worst. I don't like this. Agreed. Why would we assume the worst? I mean, clearly something about the burning village has something to do with the demon's tooth and this whole adventure we're on. I don't know why. Because, yeah, the Fiend is showing us memories. It's showing us all memories, these moments. But why are we seeing his moment? Like, why are we seeing his moment? Like, I don't know. He did that thing where he was like, oh, who you gonna save? And then, I had to pick. I'm rambling. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm not the best at articulating my thoughts, what I'm thinking. Don't assume the worst. I don't like this. Agreed. Why would we not like this? Clearly we want to know what's going on. Clearly we want to know what's going on. Don't assume the worst. Yeah, I get that too, but I agree. I want to know. Now it is your turn to take a long moment of thought before you nod decisively. Yes. You see the look of relief wash over Estrid's face before she hears your confirmation. I understand, and you're right. Enough is enough. There is another large crowd from the Otjisko out on deck. As soon as you step out into the night, you can feel eyes on you. You are under no illusions. Some of it is undoubtedly real. Reports of what happened in the outpost have already spread to people who weren't there. That, and the Fiend's attack upon the Keen Wolf, has all but confirmed to the crew that you are cursed. Some of them give you a wide berth for it. But you know some of it is in your head too, driven by the paranoia of the Otjisko's response to your suspicion of the Hetman. Driven by the fragments of nightmares, of memories, and visions of burning villages. Driven by flashes of Zahir giving his well-rehearsed speech while your blood boils silently. It all makes you rather glad that Estrid is with you, struggling just as much. You just want to get it out of the way, to rid yourself of the unnecessary extra tension and nervousness building up inside of you. You both look around nervously at the crowd as you walk together. This is the right thing to do, Outlander. I'm ready. How we gonna do this? Well, let's have a plan. Let's have a plan. I'm not trying to get attacked. Let's have a plan. How exactly do you think we should do this? You look up to the quarterdeck when Gunnar is, as usual, overlooking the steering of the ship. From where you are, it is difficult to tell anything about his mood. Okay, how I would do this is I would go to Gunnar and I'd be like, look, you know about the Fiend, right? You know that we got a Fiend after us. You know about that. And he'd be like, yeah, that's what y'all are on the ship for. That's what we're looking for. Okay, well, you know how we be getting attacked by the Fiend, right? Like, we be getting attacked by the Fiend, like, we be going through that. You know about that, right? And he'd be like, yeah, I know about that. And then I would be like, oh, well, the Fiend keeps showing this, they ain't got nothing to do with us. We were never there about this burning village. And, like, oh, was there? He was doing all this crazy stuff. And we were like, oh, well, why would the Fiend show us that? Why would he show us that? Like, is he like throwing it in our face? Is that like a piece of the puzzle that we need to solve to defeat the Fiend? Do you know about that? And then he'll be like, oh, the burning village that, oh, snap, chopped up a bunch of people with axes, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how I would go about it. But we're going to see how they going to go about it. From where you are, it is difficult to tell anything about his mood. Now's the time for direct honesty. I don't want him to think he is being hounded, but he must realize how important this is. Let's just be cautious and try not to lose our patience. Come on. Estrid tilts her head to indicate you follow behind her. You shimmy your way through the crowd as you go, trying to keep your head down as people chatter. Together you walk up onto the quarterdeck where Gunnar and another member of the Ochusco stand. Esther speaks up first, clearing her throat to get Gunnar's attention from the helm. Gunnar, do you mind if we talk to you for a while? From here, you could tell far more easily that he has a lot on his mind. More on his mind than usual. His eyes flick between you both as he tries to gauge what the conversation might be about. But he acquiesces, indicating for the free crewmate to take over his helmsman while you talk. Without a word, the three of you walk to the very back of the ship, forming a small circle. Oh, why they got me making... Do you know what happened? We need to discuss over. We're sorry about this. Because, like, I low-key want to just be like, look, we sorry about this. I know we all going through a lot right now. But, if you don't mind telling us what the fuck going on. What the fuck going on? I don't want to start with do you know what happened or we need to discuss over. Because I feel like he can immediately shut those down. But I know it's like, you don't want to always be saying sorry. But it's like, I'm trying to put some KY on this. We're sorry about this. We're sorry we have to do this, Gunnar. Why it sound like we about to beat him in the head? But we are finally on our way, a bit slowly. We're running out of time. Gunnar's eyes drop and he nods, shifting his weight for a few moments while he thinks. This is about Olver then. I thought it might be. See, he understand. He understand. Gunnar gives you both a weak shrug and shakes his head. I'm not sure what you expect me to say. Your history with Olver, he was a legend we want to understand. We're gonna do, like, soft parent talk. We just want to understand. We want to understand why he has been the way he has this entire journey. Gunnar looks at the floor uncomfortably as you continue. Even before we came aboard, Olver was skeptical about all of this. Even as Bran tried to explain it to us on the night the Fiend first attacked us in Ulfgar's Hall. Gunnar nods strongly enough for you to recognize that you don't have to continue. A long moment passes without him speaking, though, and Esther feels the need to pick the conversation up. He doesn't seem like the same man I heard stories about when I was growing up. Gunnar nods again, this time in genuine understanding of why you're pushing the topic. There's another moment of quiet as he collects himself, and then Gunnar talks quietly to you both. There was a time when Olver was a good man. Honest, brave, determined. And when he was elected, he was a good hetman, too. He led us well. He led by example, and he never risked our lives. He only ever told us to do what he was also willing to do. What changed? That was before the village. I want to get to the point. That was before the village? That was before the burning village we saw yesterday. He nods glumly, staring into an empty space in the middle distance as if remembering it himself. Windhaven, a Nostrian village. A Nostrian village. It is not something I wish to remember. We wish to understand what happened there. What happened there is not important, Hetling. It is important. He beat a prisoner. It's a matter of trust. It is tied to the Fiend. It is tied to the Fiend. The Fiend is using it to torment us. If that is what is stopping Olver from facing it, perhaps we can help. Perhaps the Fiend will even have less sway over him then. Don't you think I've tried? You hear something in Gunnar's voice that you aren't used to hearing. Just the smallest break of desperation sneaks into his otherwise constantly stressed and frustrated tone. I am his closest friend, Outlander. I have spent a decade trying to make him see that it need not change him the way it has. If I hold no hope, then what do you possibly think you can do? He thinks long and hard about it. He even turns to look over the Keen Wolf's guardrail toward the west before turning back to you again. But he shakes his head and gives a long, heavy, tired sigh. I'm sorry. You knowing what happened will not make things better. You can't just say that! You can't just say that! This is making me mad! In fact, it will likely just make things worse. That's probably true too, but still. Believe you me, Olver will not hear a word of it spoken aboard the Keen Wolf. If it worries you that much, you're probably better off trying to fight the Fiend without him. And may the gods' graces go with you. Without another word, he pushes gently past... Oh my god! Past both of you to head back to the helm. Esther stares after him as he goes, not sure whether to be angry, unsurprised, or upset. A few moments later, she walks away too, shaking her head as she heads back down the stairs. You follow behind at a steady pace, trying to make it seem to the rest of the crew as if things aren't as bad as they are. Esther stopped short of the Keen Wolf's main mast, veering off towards the guardrail to look over the side of the ship. You catch up with her a moment later, unsure where to begin unraveling Gunnar's dismissal. I can respect Gunnar staying loyal to Orville after so long, but it hardly helps us. He's trying to protect us. He wasn't hesitant to talk. He has lost hope. We're gonna spin this a positive. He wasn't hesitant to talk. From the very moment we walked up to him, he seemed hesitant to talk. Wait, is that what I clicked? From the very moment we walked up to him, he seemed hesitant to talk to us. He probably doesn't wish to dwell on it either. Esther thinks about it for a moment before she nods her agreement. And we did learn something. I've never heard of Windhaven. I take it you haven't either? You chuckle through your nose. I had barely heard of Nostria before I came north. Well, as I said, there must be someone on this ship who does. We need to speak to someone who is not so close with Orville. Esther is quiet while she looks around at some of the crew who are still meandering about on deck. Then she has an idea and turns back to you. George was ready to step up and stop Orville in the outpost, and has already confronted him about the Fiend once. He might be more willing to speak to us. Are you certain? Alright, we must be careful. He a firecracker. I'm scared that if we talk to him and he get into another bout with O, he gonna throw our names in the hat. Well, Estrid and the damn, they also... I'm not trying to, no. Don't bring us up just because we had this conversation on the side. That's what I'd be concerned with. That's what I would be concerned with. Finger guns. Are you certain? You sure? Are you certain about that? Are you sure about that? I did blind him on our first day here. Esther chuckles and nods as she remembers this incident. Thor whalers respect strength, Outlander. Don't forget that. Come on, let's find him. That's not... No, I'm shook. I'm scared. You find George back in the galley, talking quietly to a couple of the other crewmates who joined you for the fight. He sees you approaching him from the doorway and beckons you to join the group. The group of them. As you get closer, though, it becomes obvious that their conversation is coming to a close. George clasps the uninjured shoulder. Why can't I say shoulder? Shoulder. Why is that such a hard word for me to say? Shoulder of a crewmate whose left arm is heavily bandaged with some ragged cloth. Just be careful and let Maitner take a look at it. It's not time for you to meet Swafnir yet. The raider laughs the comment off, and you recognize her as the woman who accompanied George to your test. She gives Estrid a careful nod as she walks away, followed by the other crewmate, who you don't know so well. George beckons you again, this time to sit down beside him. I hope you'll sleep well tonight, Outlander. It was quite a fight today. Is anyone sleeping well? Is she going to be alright? We're recovering. Is she going to be good? She good? Is she going to be alright? George looks to his friend, who has disappeared into the commons, and shrugs. She was hit by one of those blasted arrows, and the wound is festering. I've seen worse, but in life like ours, you never know what the Runhas have planned. The three of you fall into an uncomfortable silence for a moment before George shrugs. He steers the conversation around, looking from one to the other of you curiously. What can I do for you? We wanted to talk to you about Orville. What happened in the outpost, everything that has happened recently. We want to put an end to this matter with the Fiend, and I think you might be able to help us. I'm glad to hear someone wants to finish it. Honestly, I was starting to worry. Do you know the stories? Was it always like this? What brought you here? Was it always like this? Was it always like this now on the Keen Wolf? George very quickly shakes his head, bringing his leg up to the barrel as he sits to lean on his knee. I suppose it was always a little strange. Even when I joined the Otjisko, Ulver was already wary of going ashore, but he at least spent time with us. Over the years, that has stopped as well. We've seen less and less of him. Now, I'm not sure what's going on anymore. What do you mean, he was wary of going ashore? Esther's voice is laced with suspicion as she asks her question. He dislikes it. In my time here, I have raided with Orville only twice, and once was yesterday. Now, I thought... Okay, because in my mind, I was like, oh no, Orville, he bought that violence, he bought the smoke, and this man don't even be raiding with them. He'd literally just be on the boat held up in his room. Huh. I think he may have left the Keen Wolf. George looks at the ceiling and scowls, trying to remember back through the years. Only for those raids, actually, and to visit Alcesfell, of course. That's it. I have always thought that That is why the Ochisko captured the Keen Wolf and chose to live on it. I don't know why, though. Really, it has never mattered that much. They already had the ship? What? That seems all. Not even in Thorwall? They already had the ship? They already had the Keen Wolf when you joined the Ochisko? Yes. They seized it 3 or 4 winters before I joined them, I think. I'm not sure. There are only a handful of people on the Ochisko who were there at the time. Estrid balls her eyes shut and rubs them with her thumb and finger, shaking her head. Doesn't it strike you as odd, George, that Olver will barely step onto land? George looks at Estrid's bewildered expression and his eyebrows thread together. A het person is supposed to lead by example. They're supposed to make decisions that represent us, protect us, strengthen us. Olver seems to never have been interested in taking that seriously, and yet you all stand by him. Why? George's expression doesn't change as he shifts in his seat, crossing his arms and taking a long time to think. Eventually he sighs and shrugs. You have to understand, Hetling. We have all chosen to live a little differently out here. We don't have no dyers, no goatee. We are the only family any of us know for each other. Every night is a gift from the gods because every night could be our last. I admit, I did find it all quite strange when I first came aboard. But all in all, we live a comfortable life. We don't go hungry, we stay fit and strong. Until now, we have been content. Until now, the way Olver chose to live has not harmed any of us. I get that. I get that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's their mentality. It's like, it's really not fucking with us. We fed, we got a place to sleep, you know, it's cool. We be, you know, singing and dancing in the evening. We have a little booze, you know. When we need something, we go on the land. And if the hetman don't go with us, I mean, that's just him. He don't like to party. So I get it. I get it. It's strange, but it ain't hurting nobody. Now it's hurting people a little bit, but, you know, it wouldn't hurt nobody for so long. So I suppose we just let it be. We trusted in his past, and in Gunnar, who has always vouched for him. I suppose we all just came to accept it. With that, he goes silent, though you can see he still has a lot on his mind. Esther does not really look that satisfied with the answer, but doesn't follow up with anything else. George, though, sighs and unfolds his arms again, scratching at his beard in thought. Might it be the fiend who has caused this in Orlver? The fiend hasn't been awake that long. Esther's dissatisfaction is still clear in her voice, even as you move the conversation forward. We don't know that it could be connected. We don't know that. We don't know that for certain. Because when he first showed up, we didn't have any problems until he showed up. We didn't have no beef until he showed up. And so now that we circling back and it's like, nah. We was partying and having a good time. This was not none of our problems. This was not none of our problems. Why we got problems now? Why we got problems now? So I don't know. I think it's connected. Perhaps Olver has been running from the fiend for all this time, and it found us when he came to Alphasfell. Perhaps it found him in Windhaven. I don't know whether anyone could survive being hunted by the fiend for that long. Esther turns back to George, who's looking at you both inquisitively, and thoroughly engaged in your back and forth. Do you know the village of Windhaven at all? George takes a long moment to think about it, and then grimaces and shakes his head. I'm not certain. It sounds familiar, I suppose, but I don't remember anything particular about it. It's certainly not anywhere I've been in my life. That's unfortunate. Something happened there. We aren't sure what. We haven't seen it clearly yet. But when the fiend last attacked the Keen Wolf, we both saw a village burning. Olver and Gunnar were both there, and Olver did something. I don't know what exactly. It was nothing good, that much is certain. George listens intently to you both, scowling, not out of disrespect or disbelief, but more out of confusion. The fiend, well, it is a demonid, isn't it? Its visions are fiction, designed to torment. They are certainly not to be trusted. It felt like I remembered it, and it only happened when Olver was beating that Nostrian captain. And when we spoke to Gunnar about it, he also recognized it as something real. George's face slowly falls as he mulls over what you are telling him. Do you know who might know anything more about it? I don't. No. If Gunnar did not tell you, then you might ask Olver himself, of course. but I don't think I have heard anyone talk about that in all my time here. As I said before, there are not many who are a part of the Otchesco now who were already before I arrived. Swafnil, Torkil, Maidnir, a couple of others. And if it was before the Keen Wolf was seized, it might be that no one knows. No one? I saw Oliver and Gunnar. Was the crew replaced? Was the Otchesco replaced when the Keen Wolf was stolen? George shrugs. Maybe. I always thought they had built this Otchesco from nothing. It's not uncommon for Thorwallers to go their own way and form new bands to raid with. In the silence that follows, you rack your mind for answers. Something happened in West Haven, and then the Keen Wolf is captured. Oliver rarely shows his face in Thorwall or Nostria during raids. And after the seizure, they have to recruit an entirely new Otchesco. You think all three of you come to the same conclusion at the same time. They wanted to ensure no one knew what happened. George's expression grows even darker, and you now see him curling a fist on the table. Whatever happened must be grim indeed. And it's not much of the nature of the Thorwallers to not share even the darkest of stories. And if no one else knows, then we must talk to Oliver himself, before the Fiend uses it to drive us all mad, or we turn on each other because of it. Estrid sits for a moment longer before she resolves to go through with it, and stands to leave. Before she can walk away from the table, George catches her by the arm. Wait, we should talk more before you go and speak to Oliver. You look across the table at them both, having not quite stood up yourself. Estrid takes a moment longer to respond to George's request, slowly sitting down next to him. It's clear you think that talking to Oliver about this will help you in your fight against the Fiend somehow, Hetling. I'm not marked, so I leave that to your judgment. But what if it doesn't? What will you do if you cannot convince Orville to fight alongside you? You and Estrid glance across the table at each other nervously. At the same time, you both lean in so that your conversation becomes even quieter than it already was. George follows your lead, looking from one to the other of you again as he waits for the answer. I consider just letting him stay here while we deal with the Fiend ourselves. George nods slowly, looking intently at his hands, which are clasped together in front of him. I suppose it's easy for you both. When this business is dealt with, you can go back to your lives and never have to worry about it again. Me, I have a growing doubt in my mind. Orvor has become dangerous now. And if what you say is true, it may be that he was always capable of this. He pauses for a moment, his face dark and sullen in the dim light of the galley. I do not know if that is the kind of person who should lead us, even in the loosest meaning of the word. Okay. So, don't nobody on the ship know nothing. Don't nobody on the ship know nothing. You know, some stuff happened. I mean, Gunnar still got his bag. You know, what'd he do? He killed the last crew or something? What happened? They murdered somebody they weren't supposed to murder? They trying to keep it under wraps? What happened? I want to know. But there's definitely some distrust. He gonna flip out if they go talk to him about this. That's how I feel. He's going to flip out. If they don't have a solid, you need to tell us exactly what happened, and the Fiend will go away, and we will also go away if you tell us what happened. If they don't have a solid plan like that, is not gonna take him being questioned about this lightly at all. And these choices, can you call an election? Don't do anything rash. I'm a little relieved. Don't do anything rash. Don't do anything rash. This man got an axe he is not afraid to use. Don't do anything rash, George. What does rash mean to someone who is losing their mind? He pokes an annoyed finger towards Estrid, whose steady gaze flicks towards him as he speaks. He brought you aboard the Keen Wolf to help deal with the Fiend, and then attacked you without provocation. He beat up an unarmed prisoner into a daze, once again, without provocation. From here on out, who knows what else he might do. See, George is actually... He right. Oh. George falls quiet again, rubbing his hands together before he looks at you both one more time. I am worried about what might happen if the Fiend attacks again before we reach the shore. No, don't say that. Speak up. Let us deal with it. He mustn't hurt anyone. What, did he speak up, make George say something? He gonna kill George. He'll kill George. He will kill that man in front of everybody. I do not want that to happen. Let us deal with it. I don't want to do it. I don't want him to hurt nobody. He mustn't hurt anyone. He mustn't be allowed to hurt anyone aboard the ship. If the fiend attacks and he lashes out and there is no talking him down, then we must do something to stop him. If that happens, we will go on without him. And the Otchesco can decide what to do with Orlver when there is more time for such things. Once again, George looks attentively at you for the entire duration of your speech. When you have finished, he nods slowly and then chuckles and shakes his head. You glance over at Estrid, who is giving you a small but proud smile. Very well. I did not think I would see the day that an outlander, not part of my Otchesco, would direct my actions. But you speak a lot of sense. We will do what must be done, if it comes to that. Is there anything else before we try one last time to get ahead of this? George shakes his head. Good luck to you both. For the sake of us all, I hope the Runhas have looked kindly upon you. They haven't! Clearly they haven't. This time, no one tries to stop Estrid as you both march your way through the galley and then the commons. Neither of you speak as you step back out into the cold, brisk night. The music changed. I'm scared. You ignore the crowd, which is slowly starting to peter out. You both simply round the stairs and duck into the shadows cast by the quarterdeck, outside of Orlver's quarters. Estrid hesitates for just a moment before she balls a fist and bangs against the door, quickly and loudly. Orlver, we need to talk. We really talking to this man. He don't want to be talked to. He not the talking type. Y'all know that. We ain't got backup. We ain't got no kind of backup. Well, why didn't we go talk to Swafnil? I feel like Swafnil probably knows something. Ain't that her name? I feel like we could have talked to more people. We talking to him right now? I don't want to talk to him right now. He's gonna punch me in the face, isn't he? I'm really thirsty. All that reading be making me really thirsty. Alright. Took a quick little break. I'm still scared to talk to this man because I feel like we shouldn't talk to him. Like, I would not talk to this dude. He is unhinged. Also, we need to talk. As you might have expected, there isn't any sign of a quick response. That is all the encouragement Estrid needs. With a sigh, she simply opens the door herself. She bold, she brave. You stop just a couple of steps down the stairs. into Orlver's quarters. Why am I so scared? You aren't sure what you're expecting to find in the room, but you are expecting to find Orlver alone. He isn't. He sits on the steel bag, square panel window that looks out over the wide ocean to the south. To your surprise, though, Darksong is perched cross-legged on the desk, now turned to see who is barging in. Darksong, what you doing in here? What is Darksong doing in here? Darksong, what are you doing in here? I didn't say you could come in. Orlver is glaring at both of you, as if daring either one of you to try to justify the sudden interruption. Next to you, Estrid clams up, looking from him to Darksong and back again nervously. Apologies. I am so sorry. I don't know what's going. I'm sorry. Should we come back later? What did we do? Apologies, Orlver. We didn't mean to intrude. We surely did. I thought you thought he said come in. Say you thought he said come in. But we really must talk. It's important. I doubt that. Get out. The growing threat and anger in Orlver's voice must shake Estrid out of her stunned state. Inside of a single moment, she has readjusted herself and is continuing down the stairs. No. We are a day or two away from arriving back at Alcesfeld to take on the Fiend, once and for all. And here you are, still acting as though it can be avoided. We need to clear the air between us, Orlver, so that we can all come through this alive. We need to understand why the Fiend is trying to show us what happened in Windhaven. At the first mention of it, you see Orlver's head snap up to stare at Estrid as he visibly stiffens. What? Darksong, do something! The Fiend is using it. The Otchesco is worried. You're hiding something. The Fiend is using it. The Otchesco is worried. You're hiding something. The Fiend is using it. The Fiend is using it against you, Orlver. Against all of us, really. If we can understand it, perhaps it won't hold as much power over us the next time it attacks. Orlver snarls and starts marching towards you with a fiery fury. I don't want to fight you. Oh, I don't want to fight you. You big and strong and scary. You got an axe. Your mind is already starting to reel at the possibilities of what might happen next as he reaches in the desk. He got the blicky. In the same moment, Darksong finally stops staring at you and quickly glances over at Olver. In a flash, she leaps off the table and darts around Olver, holding up her hand to stop him moving forward. He freezes and looks at her sharply. Remember, don't assume the worst. In the shadows cast by the lamp, there is still enough light to see Orville's eyes flick from her to you. For a long moment, you all stand ready for some escalation. With another growling sigh, Oliver backs off, walking back towards the window. I don't care to discuss Windhaven. Please leave. The Fiend doesn't care. Do you care to fight? George knows too. Why would we bring George into this? Do you care to fight? Do you even care about the fight? Do you care to fight the Fiend? You cannot possibly deny that it is real and here and affecting you. Will you really do nothing to fight back against it? I am not so eager to throw away my life, Outlander. Throw my life away, Outlander. And neither should you be. We are not eager to throw our lives away. We wish to free ourselves from the Fiend's mark. Unless you know something we don't, this is the only way. Silence falls to the quarters, and for a while it remains unbroken. Darksong looks between the three of you, almost as if she expects to have to mediate the dispute. In the silence, you watch Oliver retake his seat on the windowsill, looking out over the muted colors of the sea. Don't you feel it? Every time the Fiend strikes, that dread, that wish to run as far away as you can, as quickly as you can. You know of what he speaks, though you do not know whether it is right now to admit it. Okay, why is he acting like he's the only one going through this? Like we are all just machinations of the Fiend doing this to him. Like, bro, we all in this. We are all in this. Like, no, I know. Oh, I do. Okay, I thought I had too many questions. I do. Oh, do you think we want to? We can't let it win. Do you think we want to? Do you think we want to fight? The Fiend will almost certainly kill us. But if we do nothing, it will definitely kill us. Again, the room is left in silence, though you see Orville shifting his weight on his seat. It is another long moment before he looks at you in the eye again. The damage is done, Outlander. You know that as well as I do. The tension has left the room completely now, replaced with a dark emptiness that threatens to engulf you all. But what is also clear is that you simply will not get the answers you came to his quarters to find. In fact, looking at Darksong as she quietly and sadly watches Oliver, you think there may be more questions. But Ezra is not willing to accept the situation, shaking her head despondently. Why not even look to hope, Oliver? Why not just try to finish this? You hear the words in your head even before she says them again, the same words she said at the very end of the raid. It's never as easy as just finishing it, Estrid. If you don't know that already, you will soon. Oliver, you realize, has already stopped paying attention, slipping back in his own world of thought. Now Darksong joins him at the window, hovering over his shoulder as he looks out onto the sea, perhaps at the moon. Okay, I'm gonna tell you why Darksong and Oliver are getting on my nerves with this. This idea of, like, not telling anybody anything, but then being like, you gonna know. You gonna know. No, I'm not gonna know. Until someone tells me. Tell me what's going on. Like, we're not psychic. I don't have magic powers, Darksong. I don't have magic powers. Okay, I do have magic powers, but I don't have those magic powers, Darksong. I don't have those magic powers. Like, I cannot stand that. You don't know, but you're gonna know. You know, you don't feel that? Yeah, I fucking feel that. I don't want to feel that anymore. That's why we're doing this, so I don't feel it anymore. Like, why is that not from point A to point B? Why are you not making that connection? You and Estrid are left staring back at the back of their heads in a stunned silence. It's clear you'll get nothing else out of either of them. Come on. Hoping Estrid will choose to follow behind you on her own accord, you head back up the door. It's too late, though. The doom and gloom has reached across the quarters from Oliver and affected you. And that dread he spoke of is wrapping its knuckles against your head and heart as well. You wish it was already over, but you know in the deepest recesses of your soul that the hardest part is about to begin. I want to talk to Darksong's stupid ass. History of violence. After Oliver's history starts to become unraveled among the Keen Wolf Ochisko, you find strange advice from the unlikeliest source. The lull reigned for days. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed at their, we're not gonna say anything. We're gonna sit in the silence and sulk. Like, this shit is annoying. That shit is annoying. Y'all cooped up in this room being gloom and doom buddies. Why is it taking so long for my health to regain? That needs to hurry up. The lull reigned for days. They struggled at the oars. Every evening when they anchored, their shoulders burned like fire from the hardship. Endless hours passed as they pushed the oars through the water, in and out, over and over and over again. Their mood dwindled. So did their food. Soon, little remained of their supplies. And on top of it all, the days of hunger loomed soon too, ill and full of strife. This is an interesting choice of a tale for times like these. You jump out of your skin as Estrid quietly interrupts from next to you. You lean back against the railing, having not heard or seen her approach, so engrossed were you in the tale. She manages to smile at your reaction to her appearance, but it's small and weak. Don't do that. She is delivering it well. My interesting. Don't do that. Don't do that. You keep your voice low as to not disrupt the storyteller's work. Apologies, Outlander. I didn't realize you were so engrossed in it. You quickly look back to the storyteller, who is waving her hands wildly through the air as she speaks. Suddenly there was a dull thump against the hull that shook the entire ship. The Ochsko looked around, afeared, but soon came the second strike. She is delivering it well. She is delivering the story very well. Estrid pays close attention for a few moments as the storyteller continues. She describes how even seasoned veterans of the ocean clawed at the railing in fear as some beast attacked. How others went from their axes and their swords as tentacles began ripping the ship apart. Estrid chuckles and nods, speaking quietly to you two again. Yes, she is. I don't think I've ever heard it told quite so well. Together you stand against the guardrail and listen to more of the storyteller's work. It is quite the epic. She describes in great detail a long but drawn-out fight against a monstrous sea beast. She describes how the Ochsko was saved when all hope seemed lost by a great whale, likened to Swafnir himself. Estrid seems amused by the Ochsko's joy at that particular detail, more than taken by it herself. When all is said and done, the Ochsko of the story was escorted back to land by that same whale. Not the land they sought, the storyteller tells you all, but safely back to Old Port, whence they came. Not one of that Ochsko ever again thought to seek out Swafnir Island. You could tell from the tone and tempo of her voice that this is the end of the tale. Instead, every person, every day, thanks Swafnir for their rescue. The audience erupts into a round of applause and a light cheers as the storyteller grins and bows her head. The mood on the Keen Wolf has in recent days never been as high as it probably is now, you think. But even underneath the claps and whoops and cheers, you can still hear the exhaustion anxiety the fiend has left in its wake. Does such creatures exist? What is Swafnir Island? What is Swafnir's Island? I don't think I have ever heard of anyone speak of that on my travels through Thorwell. Our people say that when Jorga, Jolf's daughter sailed out of the west, Swafnir Island is where she landed first. It is said she spoke with Swafnir himself there, and he directed her onwards to the Old Port. That is how the Thorwallers arrived here, in these lands. Swafnir Island is our holiest of places, but since that first voyage out of the west, no one has ever returned there. With the tale now told, noise starts to rise up across the Keen Wolf's deck. It is too early for you all to sleep, and right now you are too nervous and too tense to try anyway. Instead, you and Estrid take full opportunity of the cold but fresh night air and remain on deck. You sit together by the starboard guardrail, looking eastwards towards the Thorwallian coast. Landfall really cannot come soon enough. But at the same time, I'm worried. I keep thinking about everything we learned of Olvra after the raid. What if it is a trap? Should we depend on him? I wish I felt more certain about any of it. The damage is done. We have to look forwards. I feel like we still need his help. I don't know why. We need his help. We need everyone's help. Alone, the two of us will certainly not be enough to stop the fiend. I know. You're right. I just hope that whatever help we can get is enough. As the two of you talk, you become aware of more movement off to your left. From the opposite side of the jutting door, leading down below deck, you see Darksong looking around nervously. The only thing there is Olver's quarters. and so you deduce rather quickly that that is where she has come from. Before she can slink away down the stairs, though, she sees that you are looking right at her. Immediately, she folds her arms tightly around her and speeds along towards the hatching. Alf! She freezes as she hears Estrid's calling out to her. Do you have a moment? You can just make out her expression in the flickering light of the candles hanging just beyond the door. Her eyes are closed and her lips are taut before she blinks and turns towards you again. Carefully, she makes her way over, nodding at you before turning to Estrid. We were talking about Olver. I wanted to know something from you. What were you doing in Olver's quarters when you went to speak to him, if I may ask? She glances from one to the other of you as she cocks her head slightly and lets her hands free. Why? Bitch, what you mean, why? Why? Okay, is the Fiend not real? We just all crazy on the boat. The Fiend not real? Like, what do you mean, why? Like, what do you mean, why? What do you mean, why? This is how people get hit in the face. This is how people get hit in the face for no reason. Because this is, like, hit in the face stuff. Like, this would make me hit you in the face. Like, if I was trying to get you to, like, tell me something, answer, like, I would hit you in the face. Come on. What do you mean, why? She takes one gloved hand to clutch at the hem of her hood, shielding the scars on her neck from your gaze. It surprised me. I just want to understand your part in all of this. Darksong looks from one to the other of you again, clearly unsure about the situation. Why are you so unsure about the situation? Why were you even on the boat if you're not going to be of help? Like, why are you even on the boat at this point? Like, to be fair, as much as I love Darksong, she's been useless. She's been useless. You're not giving us any information. You're trying to do this mysterious, ooh, I'm an elf thing. No. Like, you need to give us some information. Or, like, give us some information. Give me some information. I need to know something. It was surprising he interests you. It is a fair sentiment. It's a fair sentiment. I think it's a fair sentiment. We still know next to nothing about you, other than you are also marked by the Fiend. Olfer has been nothing but a hindrance to us, one way or the other, ever since our journey began. It seems strange that the two of you would end up being so closely aligned. Darksong releases her hood and plays with the material of her gloves instead, unable to look at you. That quickly turns into rubbing one of her wrists as she thinks. Eventually, she cocks her head again, opens her mouth to speak, and then sighs. I think I understand Olver better than most aboard this ship. I don't fucking care. I do not care. I do not want to die by the hands of this Fiend character. Do not care if you've made great friends. Don't care. I see a lot of mystery of myself in him. We were talking then and now about what he's been through and what he's going through. He told you what happened? I will not divulge his secrets. That is for him and him alone to do. Once more, she glances back and forth between you before she sighs and sets herself down on the floor next to you. She opens a small pouch from the belt and you can see her produce her carving knife and the figurine with it. Immediately, she starts cutting it into pieces. I'm just like... Imagine you fighting for your life and somebody just start whittling. Oh my god. I don't know. I feel the sense of urgency. I feel the sense of urgency. And I don't, like... Or I feel like feels the sense of urgency, but he's just given up. I don't know what Darksong problem is. I'm gonna just consider that it's the culture. This is just elf culture, I guess. I don't know. Immediately, she starts cutting it into it, focused almost completely on that as she talks to you. Did either of you stop to think about why I don't like talking about myself? You and Estrid glance at each other for a moment, unsure to how to continue. Your scars speak to that? I suppose your scars speak to that. Someone hurt you? It's difficult to talk about? Darksong's expression immediately sharpens. A large fleck goes flying of the block of wood in her hands. That is part of it, but I have also hurt others. I have hurt innocents, violently too. After a moment more of carving, she stops before making a new cut and looks dead ahead of her. With another long sigh, she spins the knife deftly in her hand and then drives it into the King Wolf's deck. The strike is strong enough that the metal sinks into the wood, and when she releases the blade, it stays stuck. Darksong is still staring in front of her, slowly pulling her sleeve-length gloves off her hands. The skin revealed beneath them is incredibly pale, long, deprived of sunlight. Both of her arms are covered in well-defined scars that are etched in bumps and crevices across the surface. They're small and precise, and not an inch of her skin has been spared from them. Pain and fear can drive you to very desperate measures. After curling her fist, she sets about fitting her gloves back on and tucking her sleeves into them. If you think you're going to lose something and are desperate not to, eventually you will break. Like, I get everybody wants to speak their truth. I get all of that. But it's just like, sometimes I'd be like, do you understand that where you at right now? I'm not trying to be there. I'm not trying to be where you're at right now. There's a problem, and we're trying to solve the problem. And you're like, do you want to know about what I went through? No, I don't. Because after this, I'm going home. I'm going home. I was never meant to be here, and then y'all came with this bullshit. Did you hurt them? I'm sorry. This is still ongoing. I'm sorry. Will that end it? I'm sorry that happened to you. Don't be. Just try to understand. She takes a moment to collect herself, making sure her gloves are tight on her arms and rubbing at her wrist. Once again, she uses a hand to pull the hem of her hood up and around her neck, and hide the scars there too. Anyway, how this relates to Ulver. Thank you! Thank you for getting back on track, because, like, it wasn't relating, and I needed someone to tell me the connection. Not everyone does bad things for bad reasons. Does that make those things better? No. But if we are desperate, I think it should count for something. And once you have done something like that, it isn't necessarily shame that eats at you. It separates you from those around you. It makes you feel alone. And when you feel alone, you look at people differently. You watch every action, reaction, and you think over everything they say until all meaning is lost. You lie, you keep secrets, you lash out when you don't need or mean to. She gives a pointed look to Estrid, who you remember almost being thrown overboard by Ulver. Eventually, it just becomes easier not to engage at all, simply to avoid the discomfort of having to face it all. Now Darksong stops, glances over at both of you, and goes back to her carving work. Let's see. Ulver isn't like you. You both need to face it. If we don't know, we can't. If we don't know, we can't help. If we don't know what the problem is, we can't help resolve it. If there is a reason for Ulver to act the way he has, why not talk to someone about it? Why not Gunnar, for example? That I cannot tell you for certain. If it were me, I would not want those closest to me to know. But Gunnar does. I did not say I had all the answers, just that I think I understand him. The three of you sit in silence for a little while, as the moon... Okay, well, when the fiend comes, we'll just tell him that you understand Ulver. Like, I'm sure that works. My sympathy is lacking in this situation because, like, I don't know, like, I know therapy is expensive, but damn, like, this is not the time. This is not the time. This is not the time. Like, we gotta solve so many other problems before we solve the fiend problem. We gotta solve so many problems before we solve the fiend. Okay, so y'all did something bad that y'all, like, felt like y'all had to do out of desperation or something, and you get that. Y'all got some kind of solidarity. And what's crazy is I feel like Nadim and Estrid aren't really considering that he's a bad person. They just don't want to die by the fiend. They're like, okay, great, you're doing wild shit. We just want to know why you doing wild shit. I'm not going to tell you why I'm doing wild shit, but I want you to understand why I'm doing wild shit. Great, you have to tell us why you're doing wild shit so we can understand why you're doing wild shit. No, I'm not going to tell you why I'm doing wild shit, but please understand why I'm doing wild shit. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. And while we're busy trying to put the puzzle pieces together of your past trauma, the fiend is going to kill us all. Oh my god. Okay, eventually Darksong puts the knife away and pulls some material out of her pouch. Your ears tune to the sound of her sanding the figurine down, smoothing its edges, and I'd take this figurine, throw off the side of the boat. I would throw this figurine off the side of the boat. Smooth, clean in the water. Smoothing its edges and curves. I'm sorry that I can't help more. You are a little taken aback by the comment and stay silent. It's not too late. There's plenty of time for you to tell us more. Darksong chuckles as she continues her sandy work. Humans are so incessantly curious. Are we incessantly curious, or are we trying to fix a fucking problem so we don't die? If you were elves, I would tell you my name is Darksong, and you would know what that means. And as for Ulver, the simple truth is, it is not my place. As she says you would know what that means, there is a flash across your memory, a brief moment in which you see her with mottled and pale gray skin, standing in a dense forest. It feels as though you should remember something more, something important, but the memory quickly fades and you shake your head clear again. Next to you, Estrid sighs and stands up stretching. Very well. Then I only hope your secrecy doesn't do more damage before we have to face the fiend. Real talk, Estrid. Make sure that these mind games that you're wanting to play with Orville isn't causing more damage. Because y'all are speaking so matter-of-factly about your past trauma and feelings as if it's not going to affect others. And it is. And that's what's irritating me about this. You know, there's like direct violence, which is like hitting people with an axe and throwing them overboard. And then there's indirect violence when y'all are sitting coddled up in the room and the rest of us are out here fighting for our lives. That's also a problem. I will try to sleep. I bid you both good night. With only a slight nod to you, Estrid gives Darksong one last careful look before she walks away. Estrid not having it. Estrid has already made the decision. Look, if it come down to it, I'm not saving her. That's what I feel like is going through Estrid's head. I'm not saving her if it come down to it. If there's anybody I gotta sacrifice, it's this hoe. As you hear her walk down below the deck, you turn back to the elf. I do mean it. Perhaps I can make it up to you. You are already beginning to stand and are a little startled when she leaps up after you. You are a guild mage, are you not? A talented one, from what I saw during the raid. I am a guild mage, yes, thank you. Why? I don't get Darksong. It's sad because I really wanted to chill with Darksong, and now that like this talking in circles thing gets on my nerves. This is like, say what you mean. Like thank you. Okay, thank you. You are unsure what else to do with the compliment, so decide to just let it sit. Darksong gives a truly genuine smile as she sees your discomfort. There is a spell I think I might be able to teach you. It is late in the voyage, I know, but it may still come in useful when facing the fiend. And if you survive that, I will... Why they be talking like Darksong and Over not gonna help us? Like, when you face the fiend, I'm gonna be on the boat. So here's this... Why does it feel like that? And if they know we shouldn't face the fiend, they need to express, like, state that and give your reasonings why. Like, instead of, you feel that... Yeah, dude, like, I don't want to feel it no more. Darksong Over get on my nerves. And if you survive that, I'll prove useful to you should find yourself in another Thorwallian raid. Stand opposite me. You are a little flustered at the spontaneous nature of the lesson, taking a bit of time to prepare yourself. Darksong is incredibly patient, waiting for you to get into position where you can move your arms freely. The easy part, first, put your hands like this. She spreads her fingers wide across her arms in an X shape in front of her, close to her chest. You follow suit. Easy enough. I'm a Tharza. I'm a Tharza. As she speaks, she brings her hands downward so that the cross parts and her arms fall to her sides. Our Armatrutz covers your skin in magical armor, hardening it without losing flexibility to provide natural protection. It may allow Nadim to take more risks in combat without risk of injury. Okay. It's only 6. I'm a Tharza! You try to mimic the dialect she's speaking as you copy the motions. Again, easy enough, but nothing happens. Darksong gives you a small smile. Bah. But that is only half of it. You mouth the dialect to yourself again, though Darksong has already moved on. Elves view magic differently than humans. It isn't a formula and a gesture to simply be recited, as much as it is a connection. Connecting the parts, connecting to the world, a connection to what? Connecting to the world? Connecting to the world or the environment around you? Yes. It is like a fabric that can be manipulated almost. For elves, it is instinctual to use. The words and motions we use are less commands and more what comes to us naturally. But that does not mean it is impossible for you to learn. You must treat the space between your arms and body as though there is life there. She goes through the motions of the spell again as she speaks, sounding almost entranced. Your word should be an appeal instead of a command. Try that. You nod and square your feet again, processing everything she has said before spreading your fingers. On metharsal! This time you feel it. Ooh, look at the glowy! Ooh, it's glowing. No sooner are your arms by your sides does your skin all across your body begin to itch uncomfortably. Ooh, I don't want no spell to make me itch. You shudder and squirm as it happens, and your body feels like it's tightening slightly. But then the discomfort fades, and you stand much like you did before. That was unpleasant. What should happen? What is supposed to happen? Darksong chuckles softly. With one hand, she takes the dagger from her belt, and the other stretches out towards you. May I? Very slowly, you offer your hand, and she pulls the sleeve up just a little, that your arm is free. She twists so that the outside of your arm is upwards towards the sky, and then very slowly, very gently prods at the skin with just the point of her dagger. The skin doesn't even as much as move, let alone break against the sharp point. Well done. Again, with great care, she lets your arm free and tucks her dagger away. I am sure Gate mages probably know of a way to cast the same magic in their sense too, but that is beyond me. How long will it last? Long enough to survive a fight, I would hope. Of course, I don't know how effective it will be against the fiend, but very little helps. I don't know. Darksong bows her head to you, rubbing at each of her wrists in return. I know it's only a small thing, but I truly hope it helps. She looks around at the deck that is quieter and quieter as night stretches on. We should both try to get some sleep. Tomorrow will doubtlessly be another long day. With that, she bows her head to you and turns towards the stairs below deck. I'm at an hour at this point. I'm probably going to take a break, stop this recording so I don't have like a massive video I have to edit. Let me go ahead and do an outro just in case I decide to break this up. If you enjoyed this playthrough, go ahead and leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new here. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by. Bye.